Good day, everyone. Recording the intro outside today because it is gorgeous. It is fall here in the ATL, and I've got 1, 2, 3 videos coming about the battle bunker. We all know you have the patience of a fly, so I don't want to put one big long video that you will probably not watch or fast forward through. I decided to give you 3 distinct cuts of Hunter and I's chat about the workouts. First one is, guess what? Workout number 1, the triple R. The other 2 will be coming shortly. The podcast will probably eventually go up. I know a lot of people are like big podcast fans and are like, oh, we only listen to the podcast. And I get it, man. I get it. I also love commuting, consuming just through my ears. But we're trying to do a bunch of different things, trying to grow this thing. And there's different audiences everywhere. So this one will probably be on both. But for now, you're going to get 3 cuts. Here's the first one. Part 1, the triple R. Thanks for watching.
Talk to me about what happened with the rowers, and then talk to me about how we scored that event, because those are the 2 biggest points of contention right now.
The rower thing is an unforeseeable, like unknowable thing. Now, here's the thing: what happened? Everyone bolts in. We get on the rowers, and the first person we notice, because he's clearly like got a dominant like performance going on, is Rylan. And Rylan's pulling it like a 138, like a really insane pace for the first minute and 30 to 2 minutes. Like I'm sitting there watching him, and then all of a sudden you start to hear this like whoosh, whoosh, like, and you recognize that his rower's not catching. His rower's not catching, and all of a sudden I'm like, what's going on? He's like, dude, and I was like, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, I've never seen this before. I've never seen it. And I'm like, oh my God, what's going on? And I'm going to preface this story. Listen, guys, we put this thing together with help from other companies. These were not brand new rowers. We rented them. We're not going to buy fucking $33,000 worth of rowers, put you guys on them for 6 minutes. Sorry, but startup company. So we rented these things from 2 locations. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Obviously, I'm just going to say it out loud. Some of the rowers, about 5 rowers, did not function properly. Afterwards, we had to basically, I looked at all the people, I studied when they came in, and then I mapped it out based on what I imagine their average 500 would be over these 2000s, and I gave them assessed penalties. There was 2 people or 3 people that got off the rower at 1,500 meters and got to go out. And Rylan, being the guy who actually won the whole event, stuck it out and rode on a POS the entire time. So it doesn't matter, guys. You lost to the person who had a crap rower anyways. Didn't really affect the point standing. And I assessed this deeply. Now, this is where it gets interesting. We set up 20 rowers from one location that we rented in the middle, and then we put 5 and 5 or 6 and 6 on the outsides from the second location. Okay? So originally we put these out there in a row, and then we filled in the gaps on the rest. The only ones that dysfunctioned were from middle company. Now, people were like, Hunter, you left it out there, water got on the thing, this. And I was like, all rowers were out there at the same time. All rowers, like I tested all of them. I would do the pulls, everything like that. Now, the night before, and I can show you text messages, I contacted Shane from Dark Horse Rowing, the guy who's basically the face of rowing outside of Concept. And I contacted him and I told him one rower was doing this. And he's like, hey, it sounds like this is wrong with it. And he's like, that's a really, really high level established company that we got these from. It's unlikely that there's a problem. I'm surprised that they gave you a rower with that problem. And I was like, it's no big deal. We have extra. I pull it to the side. It's isolated from competition. We isolate that rower. The next day, 5 more rowers do the same exact thing. Can I control this? No, I tested all of them. I don't know what the heck happened, but it's only isolated to one company that this had the issue with.
Where did this narrative begin that they were just electronically reading wrong because of
They were not electronically reading wrong. So like you have to understand, you notice that chain on the rower.
No, but you understand what I'm saying, that became the immediate narrative. And I think Austin even said it to me yesterday when we talked. And it's not the scoring, it's the pulling. There was a what do you call it?
There's some mechanism. There was some mechanism in there
not working.
Yes, but it was only isolated to one company. I've never, in all of my years of training, ever seen this happen. I've never. Even training in gyms, I've never had it happen. So I don't know if there's something about these rowers that they had set up, because these people don't use them like a CrossFit gym. This is a rowing company that we rented them from. So I don't know if there was something in there that they had set up differently. I don't know. But I've never witnessed it. And we had to adjust it.
So let's move on to the scoring portion. So this is what I understand so far.
Yeah.
The 800, the last part of this,
Yep,
is weighted more. Okay.
yes.
You finish the 800 faster, you get a better score. Are
Yes.
the other two weighted separately as well? Or are there 3 scores? First to rower, first off the rower, first back to the rower. Were there 3, in fact, scores?
No, there was not 3 scores. There was just 3 data points.
3 data points.
3 data points, because the only way I could find out how fast you got off the rower was by recording the time how fast your 800 was by recording the time you got off the rower and by the time you got back to the rower. So there was only 3 data points: off the rower, back to the rower. Oh, there's only 2 data points. Sorry.
What about the run? What about the ruck?
It's all equated into one thing. It's one time window. The time you start, the time you finish the race is 1 data point. You get that? It takes you 25 minutes to do all 3 things. Okay, I'm going to write this out. I'm going to write this out for you right now.
And then the other data point is, okay, we can now break down your on and off. I got it.
So I'm going to write this down for you at one point. So
I'm clear though. I'm very clear.
I know, dude, but there's so many athletes out there just losing their fucking minds right now that I have to like
you're going to
draw
have
a picture.
to, right. But that's why you're on the show. You're on here to get,
I know. So what I've drawn for you right now, basically right now, is let's say 2 athletes finish both at the same time at 25 minutes. Okay, guys, that's one time metric. They both cross the finish line at 25 minutes.
From start to finish, from the start of the ruck at the top of the hill till all the way at the end on the track.
Okay, yep. Now, athlete A right here finishes his 800 though in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So he really sprints it out. He got off the rower a little bit slower than athlete B, but he sprinted it out and got a 2:30 on the 800, which people did. Now there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 time placements between the 3 of them. There's 7 athletes that came in between 2:30 and 3 minutes. Now, do you get that? There's 7 athletes right there. Big number, right?
But what if they ran it in 32 minutes because their first part was so slow?
You just stay with me here, pal.
Staying with you.
Let's just say the fastest 800 of everybody in the entire competition is 2:30. Let's say the slowest of everybody was 3 minutes.
Okay.
The way that we did this to create to incentivize people is there was a time penalty of the power of 3 to each of them. So this person was the fastest. So they got the multiple penalty of 3. So they got 25 minutes and 3 seconds. You get it? Now this person who's number 2 gets the multiple of 6. They get a 6-second time penalty. They get a 9. They get a 12. They get a 15. They get an 18. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
So then it's a couple questions.
Yeah.
That needed to be laid out ahead of time, right?
No, it didn't. I made this very clear, and you weren't there, so it's okay. I'm going to make this very clear. I said to everybody, and I made this clear across the entire weekend. There's a reason why Isaiah Vidal won. I said, guys, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to say, there's this event. You're going to have to cover the distance. Now, the 800 meter is a big factor in this. The faster you run, the more important it is in the 800 meter. It is going to weigh in your score in the end. I made that abundantly clear. I said, guys, it's not your goal to understand how the point structure works. It's your goal to get to the finish line faster. And the fastest way to figure that out is by outrunning everybody else next to you.
I agree. So I'm in agreement with you. And that piece wasn't relayed to us, right? The announcing team.
Yeah.
Because then that helps us explain it better. And we obviously we look better.
I didn't want to do that. I actually told Austin that no one else is allowed to talk about the workouts except for me, because what happened was, and this happened multiple times during the day, is it becomes this game of telephone. I tell you something, and then all of a sudden you get it a little bit wrong, and then it gets to the next person, then it gets a little bit wronger, and then it goes to the next person. And then all of a sudden I'm there dealing with people, and they're giving me data points before workouts that have nothing to do with the workout.
Right.
And
But I'm saying,
I only told the judging team. The judging team in secrecy knew this.
right. Okay. So I get what you're saying. If you send that to me, okay, say, Matt, here's what we're doing tomorrow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not, and you say, Matt, this can't go out ahead of time. I'm not telling people. I'm in fact reporting accurately what's happening. And it also gives you cover, because then if we're clear, when we
Can't do that. Can't do that.
Let me finish.
There's heats.
You're interviewing, you're interrupting me. I'm telling you, when we sound like we're doubting it, now the audience is doubting it, right?
That's okay. That's okay.
We're trying to make you look as good as possible, right? Like, that's our job, is to make the event look amazing. And the more information we have, so you're saying it would be like they said to Al Michaels, hey, Al, we're not going to tell you this, just do your best, because we don't want the football players to know what's happening, or the athletes at the CrossFit Games to know what's happening. Sean Woodland and what's his name know everything that's going on, unless the whole event is a secret. But
I'm going to give you something. The most successful platform in this industry is the CrossFit Games, and they don't tell anybody the workouts and the details before you literally get out there on the floor.
no, but those guys know. Sean Woodland knows. He's on the production team.
Almost all the time, dude. They literally will, in the middle of a workout, give you information. There's workouts literally where they say, guys, get on the field. You have undisclosed repetition and undisclosed movements.
That was called chaos. That's been a thing.
Yep.
But when when Sean Woodland and the other guy, I'm forgetting his name, get on, they do what people do in sports. Here's the workout. Here's the keys to victory, right? Versus pace yourself versus go all out, use more grip. Like, they're helping the audience.
I'm not trying to leave you in the dark, but I'm not going to play this game, because I already am dealing with other people. It's telephone, man. It's not worth it. It's not worth it that you guys, I mean, I don't want you to be in the dark. I just don't want to take risks of people taking information poorly.
The other way to do it, and this is like in the weeds stuff that people don't necessarily get, but I think our
community, tell you it in secrecy.
No. I'm saying that like this back end, stuff about how the broadcast works. But I think it's important. You can say to me, right, what you said to the athletes. Then at least I know something. Then I can say, hey guys, it's about getting me to the end. We're going to find out later exactly how they broke it down. We were just like, I think that's where the telephone is I think the third part is graded different. We know for a fact it is.
I don't remember her name. She was the broadcast girl. I gave her all this information. Okay. So the fact that it wasn't relayed, I just told her.
Okay. Well, I will do a better job. If you and I are working together, and I sure hope we are, I will definitely call you and say, hey, what are these events? And if you say, Matt, this part's a surprise, I get to say that. I get to say they're only told get to the end the fastest. And like, that's, you see what I'm saying? Then everybody has more confidence. That's all.
I will admit, I gave her all of the information, but she was on the field, and I assumed that she would all of a sudden push that.
So
that
got lost. And again, I realize now, as the communicator, like, that's my part. I need to get as many details as possible. Et cetera, et cetera. But just so you know, and again, this is to help you. You can do what you want with the information. Free advice from me. If you have that information, right, and exists, you need to write it down in a book, right? Then it exists. Then it exists. And then when it's over, you go, that's the book. Go look at that. And if you have an argument with that instead of arguing with you personally. We technically have all that. Okay. It's just not like a fine print book that's all like, established like this pad. But Austin and I had, this thing wasn't invented overnight. These workouts, I can literally, I did this broadcast yesterday. I did like our show. I was showing videos of me doing the workouts months in advance over the summer.
doing these things so that people, like, we would break them down, we'd film them, we'd come up with
Right.
rules.
But people who have tuned in, family members or people just randomly tuning in as friends of Austin, or it showed up in their suggested feed, or the people that will now watch it for months on end and years on end.
Yep.
They haven't seen all that. So again,
no one was supposed to see all of it. Dude, it was supposed to be. So,
but that's why, that's what we complained Spartan about, is what? Changing the rules, right?
And then nothing was changed. I'm going to tell you something real quick, just before we get into a deep rabbit hole about this. There's 2 events that I've gone to that were the most effective and efficient events that I've gone to. The CrossFit Games, where I knew almost nothing, and they were very, very, this is it. This is the schedule. We're telling you this much. Show up and get the shit done. The other event was Go Ruck Games. Those were the 2 most efficient events. They were both run by military people.
Okay. So
if you not let me finish, Christ almighty, they didn't have issues like companies like Spartan Race. I've competed almost more than anybody in the entire world across more boundaries and more style events. The ones that do the best give the most limited amount of information and don't allow a lot of, cracks in the door. There's no cracks in the door on this thing. I just wanted people to show up and compete. I gave them the amount of information that was necessary to compete at the best of their ability. And that's it. That's it. That's the reason why I did it the way it was. It wasn't like all of a sudden my day got better. It just made things better for everybody.
Okay. So I value your opinion, right?
Yes.
I think you're a smart guy. I like you personally. I know how much you care. I know you've been a part of a bunch of shitty events, et cetera, right? Yeah. All that being said, if you got 64 competitors, and 45 of them say, I think the scoring was kind of jacked.
No, it wasn't.
Either they're all wrong or you're wrong.
No, right? You know who never complained about the scoring? The people
Isaiah.
that win, the people that win. I say this all the time. You know what you're going to notice, guys, is typically the people that are winning are asking the least amount of question. They're focusing on winning. The people that are in the back of the pack love questions because they've got a lot of time to think about it because they're in the back of the pack. It's just the reality of the situation. I'm sorry. Like, it's not going to change anything because you have more information. The people that are going to win are going to be at the front of the pack, regardless of the questions and regardless of the rules. And that really was abundantly clear because nobody I know ended up in random placement. It was the people that I assumed were going to win. Honestly, I did not think Isaiah was going to win, but he ended up doing exactly what I told him to fucking do. And I warned the guy who was in the lead, which was Ryan Kent. I said, dude, I warned him the last event. I said, this really decides who wins this thing. And he goes, no, dude, I'm way ahead. And I was like, okay.
All right. So
I walked away.
There you are. You've now heard Hunter's side of the story on his reasoning behind how they scored, his reasoning behind the communication around it. Let me know in the comments what you think now that you've heard both sides, the first side being the internet and me, essentially, and the other side being Hunter in his side about it. So great, cool, love to know how you think about this, and do subscribe, because we had other ones coming. The next video probably up shortly after this one. Love you, miss you, mean it. Ooh, that camera's watching me. I gotta run.